Blue. What is blue? If he's blue, then why isn't this? Join me today where we are going to paint 3 easy blue armor color schemes. For this test, today we are going to be painting Ultramarines. To start, I am priming all of these models black and spraying above with a white spray. This will create a nice zenithal highlight. For the first method, we are going to be using exclusively contrast paints, as this will give us a nice animated cartoonish paint scheme. And for the base coat, we are going to be using Talar Blue. Now when applying contrast paints, I'm going to be using my paintbrush strokes going in one direction, preferably down, as this will make it less likely to pull and look weird. But in all honesty, do whatever you like the most, as that's all that matters when painting. And if you want an even brighter blue than this, you can thin the paint down as I'm using it straight from the bottle. Thinning contrast paints will make it more translucent and will give you those extra juicy bright highlights. After the base coat, we are going to paint any areas that need some colour in a nice bright grey. This will allow us to get ready to use some other contrast paints without sacrificing any colour. This will just be the shoulder trim, weapons, crest, and eyes. And yes, that's exactly what goes through my mind whenever I try to paint eyes. Speaking of which, man, I still haven't played Elden Ring and I need to get to that. And to keep in theme of a more cartoony paint scheme, I decided not to use any metallics as it stands out a bit too much. So for the next paint, we are going to be using Basilicanum Grey for any silver areas. And for the lovely red bolt gun, we are using probably my favourite contrast paint, Flesh Tearers Red. At this point, it's important not to let your paint get on any of the other painted areas, as the only unfortunate thing about using contrast paints is it's quite hard to fix once it's down. For the purity seal, I used Skeleton Horde, and later for any brown leathery areas, I used a thinned down Cygor Brown. And keeping in theme for the base, I used Glyph Charger Grey for any stone details, and a mix of Cygor Brown and Dark Oath Flesh for any ground dirt. And as for the white armour trim, I really liked it, and would probably have left it here if I was painting this for myself. So here's what that would look like. But to finish this theme, we are going to use Imperial Fist contrast for all of the yellow areas, as it works amazingly, and honestly, it really is the best yellow out there. And there he is in all his glory. I'm a big fan of the contrast scheme, but that leads us to a more grim-dark colour scheme. So to start this new theme, I applied 2 thin coats of a medium-toned blue for a nice base coat. I then applied glazes of a lighter blue on top. At this point, it doesn't really matter how neat it is. All that matters is we get that colour down and the future wash will blend everything together. For these highlights, I just painted on top of the armour panels, gradually getting brighter and brighter. And for all of the yellow trim, I used lovely bright gold. As unlike the other model, this is all about those metallics. The purity seal, I painted it in a nice bone white colour, as the brown wash will tone this bad boy back down. I use a nice rich brown for all of the leather, which leads us to painting all of the metallic parts. And adding a nice rich red for his bolter gun, which I then highlighted for a much brighter red. And finally, it's wash time, which I am using an enamel brown wash, which will breathe some life, or rather darkness, into this model. I applied this literally everywhere, and then got a Q-tip soaked in Winsor & Newton solvents, and you can already see that colour being brought back to life. Just make sure to be light when rubbing it to avoid any paint coming off, as you can see this happened on some of the edges. And with the model now dry, it's time to paint the eyes, and I use two contrast paints, Imperial Fist Yellow and Magma Droth Flame, as it makes his eyes burn with a purifying fire. And I think he looks pretty good for a nice, quick and easy paint scheme. And with all good things, a trial must come, and that it did with the next model. The goal for this model was to look a little bit cel-shaded-ish, a little bit like Borderlands if you've ever played that game. Now, I've never done this, so you can learn with me at the same time. I airbrushed this model blue, and in a sketching motion applied blue highlights all over. I thought adding some random lines and highlights would help the cel-shaded look, which it kind of did, but I think some more thought and effort would have made so much more of a difference. And let's get my head out of the way, as I eventually highlighted up to a nice cyan colour. Now for the rest of the model, I painted it in literally the same colours as the previous one using the same paints, but with a little bit more concentration, as no wash will be saving me this time. Now this is a make or break situation for this model. You're going to use a black ink to sketch some shadows to make it a little bit more cel shaded. This would have looked great, I think, if I had a slightly thinner brush, but this is all I have. This is literally the smallest brush I have. Also, you might notice my hand shaking quite a bit, and who would have thought drinking 2 coffees on an empty stomach while painting the most important part of the model was a good idea. So I basically sketched some random details, and instead of edge highlighting, I guess I edge shadowed. If that's a term, if not, I am coining that term. But yeah, a lot of this was just making up on the spot. And with a thinner brush and more steady, non-coffee filled hands, I think this can turn out really nice, I reckon. And it's definitely a paint scheme I'm going to have to come back to. As we come to the end, let me know which one you liked the most in the comments below, and any other colours you'd like to see me do, or different models. And as always, I've been Reese. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next time. Peace out.